Hi, this is Gerald Salenti. It's Thursday, June 22nd, 2017, and here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front over there in Asia, everything's down, but not a lot. Over there in Europe, here in the States, mixed. Oil, up a little bit, and so is gold. So what's going on with the markets? Well, the markets were like this and like that because they're getting closer to passing one of them healthcare laws, and it may benefit those health insurance companies and other health institutions. So that sector brought things up a little bit, but not really a lot. And there's also more and more signs of a slowdown in this economy. It's not growing at Trump's speed. Well, actually it is, because Trump's speed's been about zero. So it's really going perfectly. We're not going to see that 3% growth the way things are going now. So what's going to bring the markets down? Corporate earnings, as we see it. And corporate earnings are doing better than they were before. So again, we're only looking for that correction, no crash. And gold. Well, the dollar's a little lower today. Gold went up a little bit, but nothing big to talk about. Oil was up a lot more, closed up a little bit. They're talking over there in Europe, the oil stocks at their major hub over there in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Antwerp, this week was the highest in a year and up 25% above the January low. So there's still more supply than demand. And here's the other interesting thing. They're fracking a lot cheaper now in a lot of different areas. So even with oil staying in the 40, a little below 40 range for West Texas, they're still getting it out of the ground. So we're going to still see more production, and it's going to put more pressure on oil. So again, as we've been saying over and over, 40, 60, that's the range. Could it go a little above, a little below? We see more on the downside than the upside possibilities. Could break below 40. But again, watch for another OPEC deal. All they got to do is talk, because that's what they did before. They talked up the markets. Yep, they cut back production by 1.8 million barrels a day after talking about it for months. So that pushed the price up. And now we're seeing really it hasn't made any difference at all. So they could talk the market up. Interesting. Fury over Norway's record oil offering. Norway has infuriated environmental groups by opening up a record number of Arctic blocks for oil exploration. Norway's oil ministry is offering 93 blocks in the Barents Sea, located entirely in the Arctic Circle, with applications by companies expected by the end of November. More production. Now let's get this straight. I've been to Norway. Wonderful place. Had hors d'oeuvres and cocktails with the Prince of Norway. That's right. When I spoke at the InnoTown conference. I've been there twice. They're oil dependent. What is going to happen to rich Norway when more alternatives grab a greater share of that market sector? I don't think it'll turn into Venezuela, but it's going to go down. And speaking of going down, you know, Trump keeps talking up that clean coal, the more coal. Clean coal plant in doubt. The future of a Mississippi power plant aimed at showcasing clean coal technology is in doubt after state legislators on Wednesday issued an ultimatum to Southern Company warning them they wouldn't pass on more of its ballooning costs to ratepayers. They've already spent $7.5 billion. It's the past. The future is alternatives. And the past used to be Sears Roebuck. Then it became Sears. And now it's becoming soars because they keep closing more stores. Matter of fact, the Academy over here, that was 1776 Academy. We have these big windows out in front. That used to be a Sears Roebuck catalog store back in the 1950s. So Sears announced today they're closing another 20 stores on top of the 200 that they announced earlier, and 59 locations up in Canada. And what's the real big news today? The real big front page news. That's right. The financial news in the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal. Look at this. This is why Trends in the News, the Trends Journal, Trends Monthly, Trend Alerts is the only place where you get news that matters. We're not telling the news, we're forecasting the news. And that's a big difference. Look at this other cartoon that the stupid, arrogant, moronic New York slimes put out in the business section of this guy, the co-founder of Uber, Travis Kalanick. Spectacular rise and fall at Uber. Who cares? This isn't major news. It's bullshit. Just like the bullshit morons that would put something like this on a front page of the business section, because that's what the business section of the New York Times is worth. Could you imagine if we did this in the Trends Journal? Boy, would we get complaints. But boy, oh boy, these arrogant people hold themselves up as the real news. Real crap. Real
bullshit level, DEFCON 5.
And speaking of real crap, and we're the only ones that I know have been saying it, this whole driverless boom is a .com bust. Go back to your Trends Monthly, your friendly Trends Monthly, history before it happens. Driverless cars in our lifetime? Don't hold your breath. And today's Wall Street Journal, inside on before or after, driverless isn't complaintless. And it goes on, a J.D. Power's annual initial quality study, a closely watched indicator of which complaints offer the best cars and technology, found that buyers are increasingly dissatisfied with semi-autonomous features showing up on vehicles. There was an average of nearly 13 complaints about semi-autonomous features per 100 vehicles in 2017. And this goes on. This is a Silicon Valley masturbation. That's all this is. Are they going to have driverless from point to point? Yes, we've been saying that. On certain locations, certain jobs, certain functions, but not on I-95. Not on the LIE or the FU. It ain't going to happen. But the ones that invest in it may get the FU because we don't see it going. And again, we don't give financial advice. On to some other news. Hey, how about that little Obama that became the president over there in France? Macron. It got sown. Yep. 4 Macron ministers quit in a week. Look what they call this. Emmanuel Macron's centrist coalition. Centrist coalition. Isn't that a nice, stupid word for more of the same, keeping the system intact the way it is, helping the bigs and screwing everybody else? I'm a centrist. Yeah, right up the middle. Anyway, his coalition forced a far-reaching government reshuffle ahead of sensitive reforms. Sensitive reforms to screw the people. Another fraud. Hey, and speaking about more political frauds, Romania's prime minister ousted after losing confidence vote. And we've been writing about this, talking about it since it's been happening. You go back to the winter when hundreds of thousands of Romanians took to the street. That was the beginning of the end for this guy. Yep. Again, people power. Who they'll put in, who knows. And, of course, the good news is the Saudi king, he reshuffled his royal lineage over there and put this young 31-year-old war hawk in there. Yep. Saudi Arabia's King Salman yesterday made a surprise move to reorder the royal lines of succession. Royal bullshit. Royal lines. The pecking order of the gang. Royal. And they write this crap, royal. The royal flush, man. Right down the crapper. And they gave the, replacing him with the king's son, current defense minister Mohammed bin Salman. Ah, yes, Mohammed. The 31-year-old war hawk. I want to read you a quote going back last month. You remember when terrorists attacked Iran, killed people in the parliament at the shrine of Ayatollah Khomeini? We wrote about it, did a trend alert. And Iran blames Saudi Arabia. And who did they quote? The new king in line, who said, "We won't wait for the battle to be in Saudi Arabia. Instead, we will work so that the battle is for them in Iran, not Saudi Arabia." Yep, this is the guy leading that Yemen war that's slaughtering all those innocent people. What a guy, huh? My kind of guy. Nice mass murderer. Our allies. Yep. The terrorist groups called Saudi Arabia, and Americans believe, I talk to them all the time, that Iran supports terrorism more than any other country in the world. So, now here we got, let's pretend, we got our defense secretary, James, I'm an adult but call myself Mad Dog Mattis. And he's in an airplane. And it's going over international waters. And all of a sudden, Russian jets, whoof, come dangerously close. Could you imagine the propaganda coming out of this country? Could you imagine those little lowlives and the slimers and the Cartoon News Network, New York Times, Washington Post, what they would be doing? But NATO jets confront plane carrying Russian minister. NATO fighter jets confronted a plane carrying Russian defense minister in a neutral airspace over the Baltic Sea on Wednesday morning before being chased away by Russian warplanes. In a statement, NATO said it had acted appropriately. Yeah, little bastard mass murderers, that's acting appropriately. This is disgusting. I could go on with this and on. The encounter occurred against the backdrop of a military buildup in the Baltics. A military buildup, you slimers in the New York Times, by NATO, who broke the agreement. You can see the video by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts at our conference site, who was here to launch Occupy Peace with us, who was the Assistant Treasury Secretary under Reagan. The deal was this. The Soviet Union would break up, give back Eastern Germany to Germany, let go of the other territories, and NATO would not expand any further than it was. And Slimer Bill Clinton broke it. Murderer George W. Bush, who followed his father's footsteps as a murderer, did it. Because look what nice big Georgie did with that first Gulf War, huh? And Obama, the arrogant liar-in-chief, did it. They all broke the truth and the truce. UN leader softens predecessor's criticism of Iran missile tests. That's right, the United Nations Secretary General said the tests are not prohibited under the landmark 2015 nuclear agreement between Iran and 6 major powers. There you go. But people won't read that, and they won't pay any attention to it. Because look what happened. They had that election over there in Georgia. Another little boy of nothing, a 30-year-old guy, they spent $23 million on a lost campaign bid. $23 million. And now they're blaming the Democratic Party and Pelosi and all the rest. Democrats seethe after Georgia loss. Our brand is worse than Trump's. You got it, man. Georgia defeat sparks Democratic soul searching. Excuse me, $25 million. Another little boy of nothing who lost. You know why he lost? The Russians did it. That's right. It was the Russians, I tell you. I'll tell you because that's really stupid. And that's all the news has become. Tune into Trends of the News. Tell your friends because this is the only place for the truth in trends. This is Gerald Salenti, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.